In this segment, Stephanie Miller and her guests talk the latest in politics, continue our coverage of the fiasco of Trump's nominees.
When the richest person Donald Trump has ever met, who also happens to be the richest person in the world, calls Trump voters unrepentant racists, Donald Trump, of course, sided with the rich guy against his own supporters. Donald Trump decided to publicly agree with Elon Musk.
Greg, the what is it? Office of Government Efficiency is, of course, run by two people.
So that's already inefficient.
Is it? Should they call it the Office of Redundancy? Okay. I was like, what's
the Office of Ineffective Billionaires?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there going to be a Department of Funny Walks? I don't. It's. I mean,
there already is. Prancing dipshits, I believe.
Oh no, you can't. You can't do that.
That's okay.
See, NPR said they would not have Greg on because there's too much politics and swearing and I'm for all of it. You just can't swear on this show. We can bleep it.
I apologize.
No,
I didn't mean
okay.
to say prancing.
But I'm all about politics and swearing. Can't get enough. And how can you get through this politics without swearing, I ask you? I mean, is it hard as a comedian? I was saying that, I'm so tired of this woke and blah, blah, blah. Like, woke, doesn't it just mean not being to people that are different than you? And I would contend that people like you and Jimmy Kimmel and, Stephen Colbert, SNL, on and on, are you're not punching down, and you're just as funny as ever. Do you get
Well,
that?
if you haven't the taste and manners to be horrible to people who can't defend themselves, then maybe you oughtn't be a comedian. Maybe you should just be a right-wing shill. There's a commentator named Seth Simons who writes about comedy, and because of what happened in the last election, and all the podcasters and right-wing comics, he's like, hideously, the face of comedy right now is fascism. That there's so many famous fascist comics right now who support the Russian paradigm. And it's a really dismal state of affairs because obviously there's a zillion great comedians and more great women comedians than ever.
Yeah.
And more great comics who aren't white guys than ever. But they get washed over because, I've said it so many times, Stephanie, when will white men be heard from? Why are we shunted to the side? This election was a referendum on that. It really was.
Oh, yeah.
White guys have had enough, and
Yeah.
we're taking back the night. And no matter how stupid or ugly or how many crappy ideas we have, we're going to be the loudest, and we're going to stamp our little feet and grind our little fists into our hips and wear little white go-go boots like that.
And also, we were laughing about they're supposed to be the alpha males, and Pete Hegseth has to have his mommy go call the senators for him and go on TV and defend him. I mean, and Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
Had his mommy. I mean, and they call you guys,
Such
beta
alpha
males, right?
Yeah, that's such an alpha male there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a soy boy cuke, is it?
Yes. Oh
Cuck.
yeah.
Cuck.
Oh yeah.
Cuck.
I've never. Thank you for knowing that.
Yes.
Sorry.
But it is this whole look at how many rapists has he appointed already, allegedly?
All of them.
I mean, but that's the thing about this bro culture. It's not just misogynistic; it's rapey. And
Oh no, it's hideous beyond measure. It's excusing. This is their chance to really make a statement that two men had to face any consequences for their hideous behavior, and that was too much. That was too much for all men. And I know that guys get really mad at me, and white guys get really mad at me because I rank on white guys all the time. And then I'll say men are horrible or whatever, and they'll go, "Not me, I'm not." And I'm like, "Dude, you are. You're one of us. We have to look in the mirror. It's our big, great getting up morning where all men have to look at themselves and their behavior, and it's a really horrible moment because we're pretty crappy, mediocre in general. I mean, Reagan, Mango Mussolini. I mean, we're not talking about the best in the breast here. Musk, are you joking me?
I know.
I mean, you wouldn't let him come over to your house and hang out with your kids. You really wouldn't, because he's so creepy
I didn't mean
and
to-
druggy.
He is druggy.
I didn't mean to be rude, but what is Carlos said he looks like a duffel bag that got overfilled the wrong way.
I always call him the vile sea creature who rose from the depths because we're supposed to pretend that thing on his head is hair, and we're also supposed to pretend that what he's carting around is a body and not some sort of weird gelatinous mass that's come from.
Yeah, he's like a beanbag sectional.
Like a jellyfish, sort of in a. Anyway, did I interrupt you? Were you about to tell an AC/DC story
Yes, he
from the
was.
70s?
Mm-hmm.
Not so much that only that they had a cordless guitar in 1978, and all of us lost our minds because Bon Scott carried Angus through the crowd in his schoolboy outfit. Mind you, I'm talking about men not being adequate, and here I am raving about a concert I saw when I was 18, where a guy dressed as a schoolboy was carried by a man with no shirt through the crowd with a cordless guitar, and I was impressed beyond measure. So. I also saw Kiss the night Elvis died, and they said, we'd like to dedicate a song to the king of rock and roll. And we looked at each other and went, why? There was no internet then. We had no idea Elvis was dead. I'm like, you have a pagoda on your head.
I remember I had to do an appearance. Remember the day Dick Cheney shot someone in the face? And I opened with that joke, and everyone's like, oh, Steph. I'm like, no, Dick Cheney just shot someone in the face because they didn't. Because it had just happened.
A friend of his.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Who apologized to him. Remember?
Yes, for getting in the way of his bullets.
Yeah, sure.
Wasn't it Stevie Wonder who said, that's what friends are for? 22 weight bird shot, 80 rounds of 22 weight bird shot into someone's face. It was an accident. Of course, they'd had a few drinks. They're men.
And now Dick Cheney's on our side.
Yeah.
We woke up between Dick and Liz Cheney the day after the election and went, oh, Jesus, what did I do last night to try to save democracy? So let's, because we have one of the most talented comedians in the country, let's talk about something really awful and horrible and dark that can't possibly be made funny. Some Republican-led states that have passed near-total abortion bans have mysteriously stopped collecting statistics on maternal mortality over the last couple of years. Some observers suspect it is not a coincidence. It comes as reports begin to trickle in of cases of women who have died after being denied abortion care in dangerous pregnancies, despite every state with an abortion ban ostensibly having exceptions for the life of the mother. Women of color, of course, being the bulk of these cases. I mean, they're just going to try to cover it up and call it fake news, right? When we say women are dying.
I think that's the general idea. To take away all rights from women is going to be the super big goal. In the old days, it would have been to prep up for a war or whatever, like the Nazis, because that was the first thing they did. Now I think it's just a matter of control. They don't really have an agenda other than to be horrible. And the first thing they can do to protect themselves and their hideous sexism is to take away all rights from women, which is why I say, Stephanie, that I think having caught the car, they've gone too far, and this is the reckoning. A black woman got within an inch of being president in a 100-day campaign.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that put the fear in them worse than anything ever possibly could, they really did need Russia and all the propaganda in the world and a poorly educated group of white people to push them over the finish line.